right, America. Burger Chef's got thick, juicy, terrific burgers for you.
The 1970s served up some truly unforgettable dining experiences, though not always for the right reasons.
You've never seen a place like Showbiz Pizza Place.
Remember the brown-tiled gloom of a failing Sambo's or the questionable seafood at a once hyped Rustler Steakhouse? But what exactly made these spots so disappointing? And how did they manage to stick around, at least for a while, despite food that was anything but memorable? In this video, we're diving fork first into 20 of the worst restaurants that somehow defined the dining scene of the 70s. So get comfortable, because we're starting with one chain that looked promising but ended up tasting more like regret. Sambo's. It started with pancakes and ended with lawsuits. Sambo's opened in the late 1950s and flourished into the 1970s with over 1,100 locations. At first glance, it felt like a charming diner. Cheap breakfast all day, cheerful decor, and those glossy children's menus that told the Little Black Sambo story. But by the time you were sliding into a vinyl booth in the mid-70s, you could feel the cultural friction simmering beneath the surface. As public awareness grew around racial sensitivity, Sambo's name and its unapologetic branding sparked nationwide backlash. The food wasn't awful, but the atmosphere became increasingly uncomfortable, and that kind of tension didn't pair well with syrupy hotcakes. Eventually, protests and lawsuits sealed its fate. Today, only one original Sambo's remains, rebranded and remodeled, but the awkward legacy still lingers like burnt coffee. And speaking of awkward legacies, the next chain tried to ride a cowboy theme straight into the mainstream and stumbled hard. Rustler Steakhouse. Remember being lured in by the promise of a sizzling steak for under $3? That was the Rustler Steakhouse playbook. Cheap cuts, western flair, and a big red sign that practically yelled "Family Night." But when you got inside, things felt off. Dim lighting, cafeteria-style trays, and steaks that tasted more like reheated meatloaf than anything grilled. Even as a kid, you probably sensed something wasn't quite right. The mashed potatoes were gluey, the green beans lifeless, and the staff often looked as worn out as the carpet. Launched in the late 60s and rapidly expanding during the 70s, Rustler tried to combine fast food efficiency with sit-down dining, but ended up stuck in a no-man's land of mediocrity. As competition grew fiercer and expectations for quality rose, Rustler couldn't keep up. It quietly disappeared from most towns by the late 80s, remembered less for its food and more for that strange mix of cowboy hats and microwaved sides. But it's nothing compared to the next spot, where even the menu left you puzzled: the Red Barn. Before it became a punchline, the Red Barn tried to reinvent fast food. Barn-shaped buildings, big Barney burgers, and a cast of off-brand mascots that somehow missed the charm of McDonaldland. Opening in the 60s and growing through the 70s, the Red Barn offered items like the Barn Buster and Chicken Hungry, which sounded intriguing, but often left you regretting your order. Maybe you remember walking in and feeling confused by the layout. Was it a diner? A cafeteria? A barn-themed trap for soggy crinkle fries? The inconsistent food quality and baffling branding left many unsure of what the Red Barn was actually trying to be. And while it briefly expanded to over 300 locations, it lacked the staying power of its better organized competitors. By the early 80s, Red Barns were being converted into locally owned restaurants or razed entirely, but not before leaving behind that slightly weird jingle and the memory of a sandwich that was somehow both dry and greasy. And if you think that was strange, wait until you remember this next seafood misadventure: Arthur Treacher's Fish and Chips. Fish and chips. The greasy British import that felt so exotic in 1970s suburbia. Arthur Treacher's rode in with Union Jack flair and a promise of golden fried haddock that would transport you to jolly old England. But what you got instead was a limp fillet soggy chips, and the overpowering scent of recycled fryer oil. Endorsed by actor Arthur Treacher himself, best known for playing butlers in old Hollywood films, the chain peaked with hundreds of locations across the U.S., especially in strip malls and shopping plazas. Still, the food often felt like a punishment. Thick batter that never quite cooked through, fries that clung to the oil like a bad habit, and portions that seemed to shrink every year. The novelty wore off quickly, and by the late 70s, the restaurant's luck was as cold as its tartar sauce. The decline was rapid, and even rebranding efforts couldn't save it. Next up is a place that thought flashy architecture could cover up flavorless food. Howard Johnson's Restaurant. If you ever took a family road trip in the 70s, chances are you stopped at a Howard Johnson's. With their bright orange roofs and promises of 28 ice cream flavors, they were like beacons on the interstate. But once inside, the charm wore off fast. The food was bland, reheated, and suspiciously uniform. Hamburgers that looked pressed by a machine, and fried clams that somehow always tasted stale. Service was spotty, decor faded, and the once reliable brand began to feel like a relic. Howard Johnson's had been a giant in the 50s and early 60s, but by the 70s, it was clear the chain couldn't keep pace with newer, fresher concepts. Despite its comforting familiarity, it became the place you ate at when there were no better options. Eventually, even the nostalgia wasn't enough to keep people coming back. And speaking of disappointment masked as fun, this next one tried to take you south of the border, but took a wrong turn somewhere in Indiana. Before we jump into our next batch of questionable cuisine, here's a fun pause. Did you or your family ever go to one of these spots thinking it'd be a treat? Let us know in the comments which of these brings back memories, good or bad. We're always curious to hear which forgotten places left the biggest impression on your childhood dinners. Chi-Chi's. When Chi-Chi's opened in 1975, it felt like a fiesta. Bold colors, mariachi music, endless baskets of chips, and Mexican food served in generous portions. It was a big hit, especially in places where authentic Latin cuisine was hard to come by. But behind the party atmosphere was a kitchen turning out bland enchiladas, mushy beans, and tacos that fell apart after one bite. Chi-Chi's tried to Americanize Mexican flavors for a mainstream audience, but the results often lacked any real spice, literally or figuratively. It was the kind of place where you'd go for your birthday just to wear a sombrero and get a Polaroid, not because of the food. And then there was the infamous Hepatitis A outbreak in the early 2000s, which dealt a fatal blow to the brand. But even in its 70s heyday, Chi-Chi's was more about show than substance. Next, we're revisiting a burger joint that once competed with the big boys, but had one too many flaws under the hood. Burger Chef. This one hits close to home for a lot of folks. Burger Chef was everywhere in the 70s, boasting over 1,000 locations and even predating McDonald's dominance in some regions. The Fun Meal was a precursor to the Happy Meal, and its kid-friendly marketing made it a weeknight favorite. But behind the playful packaging and cartoon mascots was a menu riddled with problems. The burgers often came lukewarm, the buns were dry, and the toppings inconsistent. Still, you might have been thrilled as a kid, especially when you got a toy or comic book. But for parents, it was clear that Burger Chef didn't quite measure up in quality or cleanliness. Eventually, mismanagement and stiff competition led to its downfall. The name vanished by the early 80s, absorbed into Hardee's, but those who remember it likely do so with a mix of fondness and frustration. And now, we're shifting gears to a place that made everything deep fried, including their ambitions. Geno's Hamburgers. Geno's was one of those regional chains that burned brightly and faded fast. Founded by Baltimore Colts legend Geno Marchetti, it quickly grew throughout the Mid-Atlantic in the 60s and 70s. Geno's offered burgers, chicken, and even sirloiner steaks, all under one roof. But the food rarely lived up to the hype. The burger patties were thin, the service slow, and everything felt a little chaotic, especially during the dinner rush. You may remember sitting at sticky tables with a tray full of under-seasoned fries and wondering if the sports memorabilia on the walls was supposed to distract you. It didn't help that Geno's tried to be everything to everyone. The branding got muddled, quality slipped, and customers slowly drifted toward more reliable options. By the early 80s, most Geno's locations were bought out or closed entirely. From one regional flop to another, let's now revisit a chain that never quite knew what it wanted to be. A diner, a pub, or a full-blown identity crisis. Lum's. Hot dogs, steamed in beer. That was the gimmick at Lum's. A gimmick that surprisingly took off in the late 60s and kept the chain going through the 70s. Originally family-run restaurant from Miami, Lum's grew into a full chain, offering not just beer dogs, but also greasy burgers, watery chili, and thick milkshakes that somehow still managed to taste thin. You might recall the heavy wooden furniture, wall-to-wall carpeting, and dark interior that felt more like a lounge than a family restaurant. There was always a strange mix of clientele, blue-collar workers grabbing beers and families trying to enjoy dinner in the same dim space. It never quite struck the right balance. Even the beer-steamed dogs weren't enough to keep people coming back once the novelty wore off. The chain slowly fizzled out by the mid-80s. And next up is a seafood spot that made you think twice before ordering anything from the water. Captain D's 1970s version. Today, Captain D's has cleaned up its act a bit, but in the 1970s, not so much. Back then, it felt like the fast food equivalent of a foggy fishing boat. Greasy floors, fishy-smelling air, and food that often looked like it had been caught 3 weeks prior. Sure, you might have been tempted by the pirate-themed signs or the idea of hush puppies and fried shrimp, but once you took a bite, regret set in fast. The fish was often overcooked or soggy, the sides under-seasoned, and the atmosphere dreary. It was the kind of place your parents would drag you to when they wanted something different, and you'd end up begging for a burger next time. Captain D's has hung on through the decades, but its 70s roots were far from golden. Coming up next, a cafeteria chain that served food as gray as its decor. You've made it through half the list. If you're enjoying this trip down memory lane, or even wincing at it, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss part 2. The next 10 restaurants are even more bizarre, and maybe even worse. York Steakhouse. It's hard to forget your first visit to York Steakhouse, mostly because it felt like someone mashed up a medieval banquet hall and a school cafeteria. With its dark wood paneling, low lighting, and self-service trays, the atmosphere aimed for classy, but landed squarely in gloomy. Started by the folks at General Mills, York Steakhouse opened hundreds of locations in malls across America during the 1970s. You'd grab your tray, shuffle through the line, and hope the steak you ordered medium rare didn't come out medium leather. It was budget dining, disguised as upscale, with tough cuts of meat, canned vegetables, and an endless parade of lukewarm gravy. Maybe your family went there after a long shopping trip at Sears or J.C. Penney, thinking it was a nicer option than fast food. But the food was forgettable, the service impersonal, and the charm wore off fast. By the late 80s, York had all but vanished. Next up is a place that aimed high with exotic flair, but couldn't even get basic burgers right. The Hawaiian Punch Snack Bar. Tucked inside a handful of theme parks and roadside attractions, the Hawaiian Punch Snack Bar tried to turn a fruity soft drink into a dining experience. Inspired by the popular drink brand, it promised a tropical getaway with every meal. But what you actually got were dry sandwiches, stale chips, and a cup of fruit punch that tasted more like melted snow cone syrup. Some locations tried to jazz things up with tiki decor and surfboard motifs, but the illusion crumbled under the weight of low-quality food and zero culinary creativity. Kids might have been excited to sip a neon-red drink out of a souvenir cup, but parents were stuck with overpriced snacks and sticky tabletops. It was one of those places you visited once and learned your lesson. Though it vanished quickly, the Hawaiian Punch snack bar remains a strange footnote in the world of branded eateries. Now let's pivot to a burger chain that had all the ingredients for success except taste. Carol's Hamburgers. In the 70s, Carol's was a rising fast food star in the Northeast and Midwest, with over 150 locations and ambitions to take on the giants. You might have seen their catchy commercials or remember the oddly futuristic flame broiler signs, but once you walked inside, things went downhill. The burgers were greasy, yet flavorless. Fries tasted like they'd been sitting under a heat lamp since lunch, and the milkshakes had that telltale chemical aftertaste. It tried to mimic McDonald's, but lacked the polish and the consistency. Some locations were clean, others downright grimy. Carol's eventually rebranded many of its stores into Burger Kings, and the original name faded into obscurity. But if you ever ate there, chances are you left wondering what the fuss was about. The next entry takes us from burger flops to pizza that didn't deserve a second slice. Showbiz Pizza Place, early years. Before Chuck E. Cheese absorbed it, Showbiz Pizza Place was its own brand of chaotic childhood dining. Opening in 1980, but conceived in the late 70s, early Showbiz locations mixed subpar pizza with the eerie spectacle of animatronic animals singing off-key Beatles covers. Kids loved it for about 10 minutes. Parents, on the other hand, had to endure cardboard crusts, sticky plastic booths, and a decibel level that could rival a jet engine. The arcade was the main draw, but if you were there for the food, you'd be sorely disappointed. The sauce was thin and watery, the cheese greasy and overly processed, and the pepperoni slices tasted like spicy rubber. Still, the novelty was enough to pull in families, especially for birthdays or reward nights. By the late 80s, the brand began merging with Chuck E. Cheese, but anyone who visited early Showbiz remembers the sensory overload and bad pizza that defined the experience. Speaking of pizza, experiments gone wrong. Godfather's Pizza, 1970s version. Long before the rebranding efforts of the 2000s, Godfather's Pizza in the 70s was a bold but messy attempt at deep dish domination. With mafia-themed marketing and dimly lit interiors, it tried to offer a real Italian vibe that felt more like a rejected movie set. The pizzas were massive and overloaded with toppings, which sounds great until you realize the crust often sagged under the weight, and the flavor combinations weren't always thought through. One bite could be scalding hot, the next oddly cold. And then there was the issue of grease, pools of it on the surface that soaked through the paper plates and your napkins. The ambiance may have appealed to teens looking for a place to hang out, but for families, it was overpriced and underwhelming. Though the chain still exists today in a more refined form, those early years were a far cry from the quality you'd hope for. The next stop takes us into a strange hybrid that couldn't quite decide what it wanted to be. Royal Castle. If you lived in the South or Midwest, Royal Castle might bring back faint memories of tiny hamburgers, orange juice machines, and late-night cravings. But even at its peak in the 60s and 70s, quality was slipping fast. The chain, which once rivaled White Castle, tried to keep costs low by cutting corners. Tiny patties with little seasoning, stale buns, and soggy sides. Some locations stayed open 24 hours, but that only invited comparisons to diners that served better food at better prices. The orange juice was fresh squeezed, which was a plus, but it couldn't save the rest of the menu. You may remember fluorescent lighting, sticky tile floors, and tables that never seemed to be wiped down. As competitors upgraded menus and marketing, Royal Castle stood still. Eventually, it collapsed under its own mediocrity. And next, we head west for a theme restaurant that traded food quality for gimmicks. Clancy's? Clancy's was a Midwestern chain that leaned into a faux Irish theme. Dark green booths, leprechaun mascots, and cheesy slogans like, "Where you're always lucky." But luck had little to do with the food. Burgers came out cold, sandwiches were slapped together with minimal care, and the onion rings had that unmistakable freezer-burned taste. Despite its cozy pub aesthetic, Clancy's suffered from inconsistent service and rising prices. It felt more like a forced novelty than a welcoming neighborhood hangout. Maybe you remember going there once for a birthday dinner, only to wish you'd stayed home and made grilled cheese. Clancy's tried to franchise nationally, but fizzled fast by the early 80s. That brings us to a chain that might have had a jingle, but no staying power. Red Barn, again, briefly revived. Even after its original fall, Red Barn briefly re-emerged in the late 70s in a few areas, trying to rebrand with a modern edge. Unfortunately, the revival was short-lived. They added salad bars, updated logos, and tried to present a healthier image, but the food remained the same. Greasy chicken, oddly textured burgers, and fries that somehow felt both overcooked and cold. It was clear they didn't learn from their past mistakes. The revival faded quietly, and the last few locations were converted or closed without fanfare. And speaking of failed reinventions, this next place tried to blend health food with fast food, and failed both. Delights of America. Aimed at the calorie-conscious crowd before that market even existed, Delights of America launched in the late 70s and tried to sell burgers and fries with fewer calories and less fat. The concept was ahead of its time, but the execution fell flat. The burgers were dry, the buns dense, and the entire meal tasted like it had been stripped of joy. People came in expecting something light and refreshing, but what they got was a meal that felt like punishment. It tried to offer guilt-free versions of fast food favorites, but the taste was so off-putting that even dieters eventually gave up. Delights quietly vanished by the late 80s. And for our final entry, we're looking at a restaurant that could have been great if only the food matched the vibe. Beefsteak Charlie's. You probably remember the commercials. You're gonna get spoiled. Beefsteak Charlie's was a New York-based chain that promised unlimited salad, shrimp, and sangria. Sounds amazing, right? Except the shrimp were rubbery. The salad wilted, and the sangria tasted suspiciously like grape juice. The atmosphere tried to channel a steakhouse with flair, but the reality was more like a dim buffet with tablecloths. Maybe you went once for a family celebration and left with a stomachache and a sense of disappointment. It was a place that relied on volume over quality and couldn't deliver either one well. Beefsteak Charlie's faded from the scene by the early 90s, but for many, it's remembered as the ultimate bait-and-switch restaurant of the 70s. Sometimes the worst experiences stick with you the longest, not because they were traumatic, but because they were weird, disappointing, or hilariously off base. Whether you remember these places with a groan, a laugh, or a hint of weird affection, they were part of growing up in a time when fast food was exploding and quality was often left behind. If you've got a memory tied to one of these spots, or another forgotten restaurant from the era, drop it in the comments. Because as much as we love to look back fondly, sometimes it's fun to remember the flops too.
The 1980s weren't just about the shopping experience. Mall food courts were a destination of their own, packed with iconic restaurants and unforgettable treats. They were the perfect place to refuel between stores or catch up with friends. Join us as we take a trip back in time to revisit 20 mall restaurants we loved in the 1980s and wish we could bring back today. 1. Orange Julius. No trip to the mall in the 1980s was complete without stopping by Orange Julius. Known for its frothy orange drink that was part smoothie, part dessert, it became a go-to treat for shoppers needing a quick pick-me-up. The original drink, a blend of orange juice, ice, and a secret powder mix, had a creamy, tangy sweetness that was instantly refreshing. Many locations also served hot dogs and pretzels, making it more than just a juice stop. With its bright orange logo and cheerful vibe, Orange Julius was a beacon in food court courts across America. While a few locations still exist today, the heyday of Orange Julius as a mall staple has faded, leaving fans longing for the simple pleasure of sipping on its signature drink between shopping sprees. 2. Sbarro's. Sbarro brought a slice of New York to malls across America with its oversized pizza slices and hearty Italian offerings. The sight of Sbarro's bright red and green signage and the smell of fresh-baked pizza wafting through the food court was enough to draw in hungry shoppers. While pizza was the main attraction, Sbarro's menu also featured strombolis, pasta dishes, and garlic bread that made it feel like an authentic Italian feast on the go. The ability to see the pizzas displayed under glass added to the charm, letting you pick the exact slice that called to you. Though Sbarro still exists in some locations, its popularity as a mall food court icon has waned, leaving 80s kids nostalgic for its golden days. 3. Hot Sam Pretzels. Hot Sam Pretzels was the ultimate stop for a warm, buttery snack while navigating the mall. Known for their soft, oversized pretzels, this chain offered classic salted pretzels as well as sweet variations like cinnamon sugar. Their signature pretzels were baked fresh throughout the day, ensuring they were always hot and delicious. Hot Sam was more than just a pretzel. It was often paired with a creamy cheese dip or even a dollop of mustard, making it the perfect mall snack. With its cheerful yellow and red branding and pretzel ovens in plain view, the smell alone could lure you in. Sadly, Hot Sam Pretzels disappeared in the 1990s, leaving a salty hole in the hearts of mall goers everywhere. Here's the next 3 mall restaurants expanded for 1 minute each. 4. Corn Dog 7. Corn Dog 7 was the quintessential mall food court stop for fans of fried, hand-dipped goodness. Famous for its corn dogs made fresh to order, this chain elevated the simple snack with a crispy, golden brown batter and juicy hot dogs inside, pairing it with a side of perfectly seasoned curly fries or a frosty lemonade made for a satisfying mid-shopping meal. Beyond corn dogs, they also offered items like cheese sticks and chicken tenders, all served with a smile. Corn Dog 7's nostalgic charm came from its straightforward, no-frills approach to comfort food, which kept shoppers coming back. While the chain faded away over the years, the memory of biting into one of their iconic corn dogs is enough to transport anyone back to the bustling food courts of the 1980s. 5. Chick-fil-A, original mall locations. Before Chick-fil-A became a nationwide fast food juggernaut, it was primarily known for its small but mighty presence in mall food courts. Their original chicken sandwich, crispy, seasoned, and served on a buttered bun with 2 pickle slices, was a revelation for mall goers in the 1980s. Their menu also included waffle fries and fresh squeezed lemonade, a combination that quickly became iconic. Chick-fil-A's friendly service and focus on quality set it apart, creating a loyal following even before standalone locations were common. For those who grew up in the 1980s, visiting a mall meant stopping at Chick-fil-A for a taste of their signature sandwich, a tradition that lives on in many hearts today. 6. Farrell's Ice Cream Parlor.
Or right in between. You always have a party at Farrell's.
Farrell's Ice Cream Parlor was a sensory overload in the best way possible. Known for its whimsical decor and over-the-top ice cream creations, this restaurant turned a simple scoop into an event. Signature items like the Zoo, a giant ice cream sundae delivered with bells, whistles, and a parade of servers, made Farrell's the ultimate destination for birthdays and celebrations. While some locations weren't directly in malls, many were nearby, drawing crowds of families and teenagers alike. Farrell's wasn't just about the ice cream, it was about the experience, the laughter, and the memories created with every visit. Though most Farrell's locations closed by the late 1980s, its legacy as a place of pure joy lives on in the hearts of those who experienced it. Here's the next 3 mall restaurants, expanded to last about a minute each. 7. Orange Bowl. Orange Bowl was a refreshing oasis in the bustling food courts of the 1980s. Known for its fresh squeezed orange juice and soft-serve ice cream cones, it was a perfect stop for a quick pick-me-up between shopping adventures. Their orange juice was a standout, simple, sweet, and undeniably fresh, served over ice to quench your thirst. For those craving something indulgent, the creamy soft serve paired with a tangy juice made a uniquely satisfying combo. With its bright citrus-themed branding and cheerful atmosphere, Orange Bowl became a nostalgic favorite for mall goers. Sadly, it disappeared from food courts, leaving those who loved its simplicity longing for the days of orange-filled refreshment. 8. A&W Restaurants. A&W Restaurants brought classic American diner vibes to mall food courts in the 1980s. known for their frothy root beer floats served in frosty mugs. A&W was the perfect place to take a break from shopping. Their menu featured hearty burgers, crispy fries, and hot dogs, offering a slice of classic comfort food. The retro decor and friendly service made it a favorite hangout spot for families and teens alike. While A&W still exists in some areas, its presence in malls has faded, leaving many nostalgic for the days when grabbing a root beer float was as much a part of the mall experience as window shopping. 9. Swenson's Ice Cream. Swenson's Ice Cream was a premium treat for mall goers looking for something special. Known for its extensive menu of unique flavors and indulgent sundaes, Swenson stood out with its upscale yet approachable atmosphere. Signature items like the Earthquake Sundae, a massive creation with 8 scoops of ice cream and an array of toppings, made it a destination for celebrations or a decadent shopping break. The rich, creamy texture of their ice cream and the charm of their parlor-like design left a lasting impression on anyone who visited. While Swenson's has nearly vanished from US malls, its legacy as a top-tier ice cream experience remains etched in 80s mall culture. 10. Panda Express Original Mall Locations. Before Panda Express became a nationwide fast food staple, it was primarily a beloved mall food court gem in the 1980s. With its iconic orange chicken and fried rice, the chain introduced many shoppers to a flavorful and convenient take on Chinese American cuisine. The sight of employees working the woks behind the counter, filling plates with vibrant, steaming dishes, was irresistible for hungry mall goers. Their sweet and savory orange chicken quickly became a favorite, often accompanied by chow mein and an egg roll. While Panda Express is still widely available today, its connection to the mall experience of the 1980s remains strong, reminding many of a time when grabbing a plate of their signature dishes was the highlight of a shopping trip. 11. Taco Viva. Taco Viva was a colorful and flavorful addition to mall food courts in the 1980s, offering a fast food twist on Mexican-inspired dishes. Their menu featured tacos, burritos, and nachos loaded with vibrant toppings like shredded cheese, salsa, and sour cream. What set Taco Viva apart was its vibrant branding and cheerful atmosphere, which made it a standout spot in any food court. The food was quick, affordable, and packed with flavor, making it a favorite for families and teens looking for something bold and satisfying. Unfortunately, Taco Viva disappeared in the 1990s, leaving behind memories of their brightly colored trays and zesty flavors. 12. The Great Hot Dog Experience. As its name suggested, the Great Hot Dog Experience turned the simple hot dog into an art form. Located in mall food courts, this spot offered gourmet hot dogs with an array of toppings that went far beyond ketchup and mustard. From chili and cheese to sauerkraut and even jalapenos, every hot dog was a customizable masterpiece. Their freshly grilled dogs and warm buns were a hit, with shoppers looking for a quick but satisfying bite. While the chain is long gone, the idea of elevating the humble hot dog into a gourmet experience has stuck with those who remember it fondly from the mall days of the 1980s. 13. Steak Escape. Steak Escape brought the sizzling aroma of freshly grilled cheesesteaks to mall food courts, making it nearly impossible to pass by without stopping. Known for its made-to-order sandwiches, Steak Escape served up juicy, thinly sliced steak on toasted hoagie rolls, topped with melted cheese, onions, and peppers. Customers could watch as their sandwiches were cooked right in front of them, adding a touch of theater to the experience. Pair your sandwich with their signature fresh-cut fries, and you had a meal that felt indulgent yet fast. While Steak Escape still exists in limited locations, its dominance in mall food courts during the 1980s remains a cherished memory for those who craved its flavorful, sizzling offerings. 14. Arthur Treacher's Fish and Chips. Arthur Treacher's brought a taste of British-inspired comfort food to mall goers in the 1980s, specializing in golden, crispy fried fish paired with thick-cut chips. Sunnu fries. The chain quickly became a favorite for shoppers seeking a hearty meal. Their hush puppies and creamy coleslaw rounded out the menu, making it a full-on feast. The signature batter, perfectly seasoned and fried to a satisfying crunch, was what set Arthur Treacher's apart. While the chain has mostly disappeared, the memory of sitting in a food court with a tray of hot fish and chips remains a fond recollection of the mall's culinary heyday. 15. The All-American Burger. The the All-American Burger was exactly what it promised, a classic no-frills burger joint that celebrated traditional American fast food. With its juicy burgers, crispy fries, and old-school milkshakes, it brought a nostalgic diner vibe to mall food courts. The menu was simple but satisfying, offering everything you'd expect from a classic burger spot with a focus on quality and freshness. For many shoppers, grabbing an All-American Burger was the perfect way to recharge during a busy day at the mall. While the chain didn't survive past the 1980s, its name and straightforward charm still evoke warm memories of a time when a great burger was the ultimate mall treat. Here's the final 5 mall restaurants expanded with your nostalgic tone. 16. The Magic Pan. The Magic Pan added a touch of sophistication to mall dining in the 1980s with its delicate crepes, both savory and sweet. Known for their perfectly thin and tender crepes filled with everything from chicken and mushrooms to rich chocolate and fresh strawberries. This spot felt like a mini European getaway in the middle of a bustling mall. Watching the crepes being made on spinning pans was part of the charm, giving diners a front row seat to their meal's preparation. While the restaurant eventually disappeared, the memory of its upscale atmosphere and unique menu makes it one of the most missed mall dining experiences of the decade. 17. Bonanza Steakhouse Mall Locations. Bonanza Steakhouse brought budget-friendly steak dinners to the mall scene, offering hearty meals that didn't break the bank. Known for its cafeteria-style setup, you could pick up a juicy steak, baked potato, and a side salad, all served on a tray. The all-you-can-eat salad bar was a highlight, loaded with toppings and sides that let diners customize their meals. Bonanza provided a homey, satisfying dining experience that felt like more than just a quick mall meal. Though it faded from malls over time, its blend of affordability and quality left a lasting impression on 80s mall goers. 18. Pizza Haven. Pizza Haven was a lesser-known gem in mall food courts, offering personal-sized pizzas made fresh to order. Known for their perfectly crispy crusts and bold toppings, Pizza Haven stood out by letting customers watch their pizzas being assembled and baked. Whether you went classic with pepperoni or adventurous with veggies and extra cheese, every bite was loaded with flavor. Their grab-and-go approach made them a favorite for busy shoppers needing a quick but satisfying meal. While Pizza Haven has largely disappeared, it remains a fond memory for those who craved its piping hot pies during mall trips. 19. TCBY, the country's best yogurt. TCBY was ahead of its time, bringing the concept of frozen yogurt to the forefront in mall food courts during the 1980s. Offering a healthier alternative to ice cream, their creamy, flavorful yogurt came in a variety of options, from tart plain to indulgent chocolate. Customers could customize their treats with a wide range of toppings, from fresh fruit to crushed candy. TCBY quickly became a popular spot for shoppers looking for a sweet but guilt-free dessert. Though the chain still exists in some areas, its presence as a mall staple in the 1980s made it a go-to stop for families and health-conscious diners alike. 20. York Steakhouse. York Steakhouse brought a touch of elegance to mall dining with its cafeteria-style approach to steakhouse meals. Known for their tender steaks, baked potatoes, and buttery rolls, the restaurant offered quality meals at a price that made it accessible for families. The ambiance was understated but inviting, with dark wood interiors and a quiet atmosphere that made it feel more like a traditional restaurant than a food court stop. While the chain eventually closed most of its locations, York Steakhouse remains a nostalgic favorite for those who remember enjoying a satisfying steak dinner during a busy day at the mall. These 20 mall restaurants remind us of a time when grabbing a bite at the food court was just as exciting as the shopping itself. Which of these do you remember most fondly? Or is there one we missed that deserves a shout out? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more nostalgic trips through the decades. See you in the next one.
Remember that burger joint you couldn't get enough of as a kid? Or that fried chicken spot with the crispy secret recipe goodness?
Check it out. Wow, Kenny Rogers Roasters finally open. He is the gambler.
Once upon a time, these fast food favorites were go-to spots for millions, but today, they're just a memory. From legendary burger chains to quirky pizza places and iconic diners, these spots had their heyday before vanishing from the landscape. Some fell victim to fierce competition, changing tastes, or business blunders, while others were simply ahead of their time, but we wouldn't mind having them back, so grab a seat and prepare for a nostalgic trip through the fast food joints that once ruled America until they didn't.
Give me all the chicken you have and then do a dance for me. That's what you could do. And they would all have to dance, these people.
Do you remember any of these? Let's find out. Bob's Big Boy. Bob's Big Boy wasn't just a fast food restaurant, it was an icon of American dining. Founded in 1936 in California, this beloved chain became famous for its signature double-decker burger, thick milkshakes, and classic diner-style service. With its retro booths, car hop service, and that unmistakable Big Boy mascot, it was a staple for families, teenagers, and road trippers alike. One of Bob's Big Boy's biggest draws was its deliciously simple yet unforgettable menu. The Big Boy Burger, featuring 2 beef patties, a sesame seed bun, and a special relish-based sauce, became a legend in the fast food world. But it wasn't just about burgers, the restaurant was also known for hand-dipped milkshakes, fluffy pancakes, and all-day breakfast platters that kept customers returning for more. Beyond the food, Bob's Big Boy delivered an authentic dining experience. The restaurants had a distinct 1950s charm, complete with neon signs, jukebox tunes, and friendly service that made every meal feel special. Many locations even offered curbside service where car hops would bring trays of food right to customers' cars, adding an extra layer of nostalgia. So why should Bob's Big Boy make a comeback? Because it represents a golden era of dining, a time when grabbing a burger meant more than just fast food. It was a place where families bonded over milkshakes, friends laughed over fries, and classic American diner culture thrived. With today's renewed love for retro aesthetics and comfort food, a revival of Bob's Big Boy could bring back that timeless charm and mouth-watering taste that so many people still crave. After all, who wouldn't want to take a trip back in time, one Big Boy burger at a time? Minnie Pearl's Chicken. In the late 1960s, Minnie Pearl's Chicken set out to take on the fast food fried chicken empire dominated by KFC. Named after the beloved country comedian Minnie Pearl, this chain promised Southern charm, crispy golden chicken, and a down-home experience like no other. With locations popping up across the South, Minnie Pearl's Chicken aimed to be more than just a place to eat. It was a taste of country hospitality. What set this restaurant apart was its unique branding. While Colonel Sanders had his signature white suit and goatee, Minnie Pearl's Chicken had its own star power in the form of Minnie herself, known for her big personality, signature price-tagged hat, and wholesome humor. The menu focused on traditional Southern fried chicken, hearty sides, and a warm, welcoming atmosphere. It was meant to be a place where families could gather, enjoy a meal, and soak in a little country charm. Unfortunately, despite its promising start, the chain faced financial troubles, poor management, and a rapid expansion that outpaced its ability to maintain consistency. By the early 1970s, Minnie Pearl's Chicken had faded away, unable to compete with its more established rivals. But imagine if it made a comeback today. With a rising love for retro brands and classic comfort food, Minnie Pearl's Chicken could thrive in the modern era. A revival could bring back that nostalgic Southern charm, offering crispy, old-fashioned fried chicken with a side of history. In a world where fast food often feels impersonal, a modern Minnie Pearl's Chicken could recapture the magic of a time when great food and warm hospitality went hand in hand. After all, who wouldn't want to savor a piece of Southern history with every crispy golden bite? Geno's Hamburgers. Geno's Hamburgers was more than just another fast food joint, it was a beloved institution. Founded in 1957 by NFL Hall of Famer Gino Marchetti, this chain quickly became a household name, serving up mouth-watering burgers, golden fries, and thick milkshakes to hungry customers across the East Coast. But what really set Geno's apart was its unique mix of fast food and family-friendly service. Unlike many of its competitors, Geno's offered a little something extra. Its partnership with Kentucky Fried Chicken meant you could order a crispy bucket of Colonel Sanders' famous fried chicken alongside your burger. It was the best of both worlds, making Geno's a go-to spot for families who wanted variety without compromise. The menu also featured their signature Geno Giant, a towering burger meant to rival the Big Mac, packed with special sauce and fresh toppings. The atmosphere at Geno's was just as special as the food. With its retro red and white signage and welcoming vibe, it became a neighborhood staple where friends and families gathered for a meal that felt like an experience rather than just a pit stop. So why should Geno's make a comeback? Nostalgia aside, its dedication to quality, variety, and hearty portions would be a breath of fresh air in today's fast food landscape. In an era where chains are cutting corners, Geno's commitment to fresh, flavorful food could win over a new generation of burger lovers. And let's be honest, who wouldn't want to sink their teeth into a classic Geno giant one more time? A revival of Geno's wouldn't just satisfy cravings, it would bring back a piece of fast food history that truly deserves another chance. Don Pablo's. Don Pablo's was once a go-to spot for Tex-Mex lovers craving bold flavors, lively atmospheres, and endless baskets of warm tortilla chips. Founded in 1985, this beloved chain quickly became known for its oversized portions, hand-rolled enchiladas, sizzling fajitas, and fresh house-made tortillas. Whether you were celebrating a birthday with a massive sombrero on your head or diving into a plate of their signature mesquite grilled dishes, every visit to Don Pablo's felt like a fiesta. But it wasn't just the food that made Don Pablo's special, it was the experience. The restaurants were designed with vibrant southwestern decor, complete with rustic wooden accents and colorful tile work, transporting guests straight to the heart of Texas. Their open kitchen concept gave diners a front row seat to the magic happening behind the scenes, from tortillas being pressed fresh to fajitas arriving at the table with a dramatic sizzle. Sadly, despite its loyal following, Don Pablo's couldn't keep up with the evolving fast casual landscape. A combination of financial struggles, changing dining habits, and increasing competition led to the chain's gradual decline. By 2019, the last remaining locations had closed their doors, leaving fans with only memories of their famous queso and margaritas. A Don Pablo's comeback would be a dream come true for Tex-Mex enthusiasts. With the growing popularity of authentic, bold-flavored cuisine, there's still a place for a restaurant that delivers quality ingredients and a festive atmosphere. Imagine a revamped Don Pablo's with modern touches, perhaps a fast casual twist or a focus on locally sourced ingredients, while still holding on to the flavors and flair that made it a fan favorite. In a world where good Tex-Mex is always in demand, Don Pablo's deserves a second shot at making every meal a celebration. Royal Castle. Royal Castle was once a shining star in the world of fast food, serving up steaming hot, bite-sized hamburgers long before sliders became a trend. Founded in 1938 in Miami, Florida, this beloved chain quickly became famous for its simple yet irresistible menu. Customers couldn't get enough of Royal Castle's square burgers, cooked right in front of them on a sizzling griddle and topped with grilled onions, pickles, and a dash of nostalgia. But burgers weren't the only draw. Royal Castle was also known for its legendary birch beer, a creamy, refreshing soda that perfectly complemented its savory offerings. Served ice-cold in frosted mugs, it became a signature part of the Royal Castle experience, making every visit feel special. The 24-hour service meant that no matter when hunger struck, you could count on Royal Castle for a satisfying meal. So why should this classic chain make a comeback? For one, it thrived on quality and simplicity, something today's fast food scene could use more of. In an era of complicated menus and artificial ingredients, Royal Castle's fresh, made-to-order burgers and old-school service would be a welcome return to the basics. Plus, who wouldn't want to sip on a frosty birch beer while enjoying a classic American burger in a nostalgic diner setting? Although most locations closed by the late 1970s, a single Royal Castle still stands in Miami, proving its legacy is far from forgotten. A full-scale revival could introduce a new generation to the charm, flavor, and history that made Royal Castle a true fast food icon, because some classics aren't meant to fade away, they're meant to be savored again. Showbiz Pizza Place. For kids growing up in the 80s, Showbiz Pizza Place wasn't just a restaurant, it was an event. With its dazzling arcade, mouth-watering pizza, and the unforgettable animatronic band, the Rockafire Explosion, Showbiz was the ultimate birthday party destination. Founded in 1980, it quickly became a household name, offering families more than just food. It provided an immersive entertainment experience that made every visit feel like a special occasion. What set Showbiz Pizza apart was its electric atmosphere. Walking through its doors meant stepping into a world filled with flashing lights, arcade game soundtracks, and the lively performances of Billy Bob Broccoli and his Rock-afire Explosion bandmates. Kids could feast on cheesy, piping hot pizza while watching the animatronics belt out catchy tunes, a spectacle that was equal parts quirky and magical. Add in the thrill of winning tickets from classic arcade games, and it's no wonder Showbiz Pizza had an almost mythical reputation. Despite its popularity, Showbiz merged with Chuck E. Cheese in the late 80s, leading to the eventual disappearance of its unique branding and beloved animatronic band. But imagine if it made a comeback. With today's love for nostalgia, a modernized Showbiz Pizza place could thrive, blending vintage charm with new age tech. Imagine augmented reality arcade games, improved animatronic performances, and retro-themed pizza nights that let both kids and adults relive the magic. In an era where family-friendly entertainment feels increasingly digital and disconnected, Showbiz Pizza Place's return could bring back the in-person fun and excitement that made childhood unforgettable. Who wouldn't love one more chance to sit back with a slice of pizza and watch the Rock-afire Explosion rock the stage? Farrell's Ice Cream Parlor. If you grew up between the 1960s and 1980s, there's a good chance Farrell's Ice Cream Parlor was a major part of your childhood celebrations. This wasn't just a place to grab dessert, it was an experience. With its turn-of-the-century decor, servers dressed in vintage uniforms, and the sound of a player piano filling the air, Farrell's transported guests to a time when ice cream was a true event. But it wasn't just about the atmosphere. Farrell's had legendary menu items that made every visit unforgettable. The star attraction? The Zoo Sundae, a massive creation piled high with scoops of ice cream, toppings, and enough whipped cream to make any kid's eyes light up. And if you were lucky enough to order it, your table became the center of attention as servers paraded through the restaurant, banging drums and ringing bells in celebration. Beyond the sundaes, Farrell's also served classic American fare like burgers, hot dogs, and sandwiches, making it a family go-to spot. Whether you were there for a birthday party, a first date, or just to indulge in an old-fashioned soda float, Farrell's delivered fun with every bite. So why should Farrell's make a comeback? In today's fast-paced, digital-driven world, there's something special about a place that encourages people to slow down, share a laugh, and celebrate together. Modern ice cream shops may have gourmet flavors, but they lack the pure joy and theatrical fun that made Farrell's unique. A revival of this beloved chain could bring back the magic of over-the-top sundaes, lively celebrations, and the kind of nostalgic charm that made Farrell's a true icon. Chi-Chi's. Chi-Chi's was more than just a restaurant. It was a fiesta waiting to happen. Founded in 1975, this Tex-Mex chain brought sizzling fajitas, crispy chimichangas, and endless baskets of chips and salsa to hungry diners across the U.S. It wasn't just about the food, it was about the experience. With its colorful decor, lively atmosphere, and festive margaritas, Chi-Chi's made every meal feel like a celebration. One of its standout features was its legendary Sunday brunch, where guests could indulge in an all-you-can-eat spread of Mexican-inspired dishes. It was also one of the first major chains to introduce fried ice cream, a crispy, cinnamon-dusted treat that quickly became a fan favorite. And who could forget the oversized margaritas served in festive glasses? Chi-Chi's wasn't just a place to eat, it was a place to gather, laugh, and enjoy life. Unfortunately, the brand's success was cut short in the early 2000s after financial struggles and a highly publicized hepatitis A outbreak. Despite its downfall in the US, the Chi-Chi's name still survives in Europe and Asia as a packaged food brand, but the restaurant experience itself is long gone. So why should Chi-Chi make a comeback? Simple, because no one has quite captured its unique blend of flavor, fun, and festivity. In an era where nostalgia-driven revivals are thriving, a new and improved Chi-Chi's could be a hit. Imagine the return of their sizzling fajitas, signature fried ice cream, and bottomless chips and salsa, all served with a side of live mariachi music. It's the kind of dining experience we didn't know we were missing until now. Bring back Chi-Chi's, and let's turn every meal into a celebration again. Howard Johnson's. Howard Johnson's was a fast food icon that redefined dining during its heyday. Founded in 1925 by Howard Deering Johnson, the restaurant chain became a symbol of comfort and convenience across the U.S., particularly known for its roadside appeal and unforgettable orange roof. A true pioneer in the fast food world, it offered a wide variety of dishes, from its famous fried clams and golden fried chicken to hearty breakfast and decadent ice cream. But what truly set Howard Johnson's apart was its consistency. Whether you were in Maine or Florida, you could count on the same friendly service and classic American fare. At its peak, Howard Johnson's was one of the largest restaurant chains in the country, with over 1,000 locations. Families, road trippers, and travelers flocked to its signature restaurants for a relaxing, sit-down experience that was a step up from the typical fast food joint. Its combination of comfort food and cozy atmosphere made it a beloved institution, offering a welcoming respite with a menu that felt like home, no matter where you were. Reviving Howard Johnson's today would be a dream for those craving nostalgia. In an age where fast food can feel impersonal and rushed, the warm, family-friendly vibe of Howard Johnson's could provide a refreshing change. Imagine walking into a restaurant that feels like a throwback to simpler times, with hearty classic American dishes served with a side of comfort. The combination of retro charm, timeless flavors, and that signature orange roof would surely capture the hearts of a new generation while rekindling fond memories for those who remember it best. Ground Round. Ground Round was a fast food chain that stood out for its unique blend of casual dining and entertainment. Offering much more than just a meal, it was an experience. Established in 1969, this beloved restaurant quickly became a favorite for families and friends seeking a laid-back atmosphere to enjoy hearty food and fun. The restaurant's signature feature was its combination of classic American fare, like juicy burgers and crispy fries, with a lively pub-like ambiance. Guests could dig into a delicious meal while catching a game on TV or even throwing peanut shells onto the floor, a quirky tradition that added to its charm. But Ground Round didn't just serve food, it created memories. The menu was packed with comfort foods that appealed to all ages, from towering burgers to thick milkshakes, and everything was served in a relaxed, no-pressure environment. They even offered a unique take on the classic bar experience, with a focus on family-friendly fun rather than just adult-oriented entertainment. So why would a comeback be a hit today? In a world where fast food is becoming increasingly impersonal and rushed, Ground Round's nostalgic, community-driven vibe would be a breath of fresh air. With a focus on great food, family-friendly fun, and a welcoming atmosphere, it could tap into the growing desire for casual dining experiences that offer more than just a quick bite. Picture it now: burgers, games, laughter, and a place where everyone feels at home. Ground Round would not only satisfy your hunger, but bring back the magic of dining with a side of nostalgia. Let's get it back, El Torito. El Torito was more than just a fast food restaurant, it was a fiesta for the senses. Founded in 1954, this Mexican-inspired chain quickly became a staple for those craving bold flavors and vibrant dining experiences. Known for its casual yet festive atmosphere, El Torito served up a menu brimming with fresh, flavorful dishes that combined the best of Mexican street food and traditional favorites. From sizzling fajitas to hearty burritos, tacos, and creamy guacamole made right at your table, El Torito offered an authentic taste of Mexico with the convenience of fast food. But what really set El Torito apart was its legendary margaritas, the kind that could turn a regular Tuesday into a mini celebration. The warm, welcoming vibe of its restaurants made it the perfect spot for families, friends, and even casual work gatherings, offering both a comfortable dining experience and the chance to unwind with a drink in hand. So why should El Torito make a comeback? Simple. It would tap into the ever-growing demand for flavorful, vibrant, and affordable dining. With the rise of Mexican cuisine's popularity and a renewed love for fast casual experiences, bringing back El Torito would be like reopening a long-lost door to a world of zesty tacos and margaritas. It would blend nostalgia with modern-day convenience, offering a perfect mix of both classic and innovative dishes. Imagine the joy of diving into a sizzling plate of fajitas with the same zest and charm that made El Torito a household name. It's time to reignite that fiesta and bring back the flavors we loved. Dee's Drive-In, Honestly speaking, Dee's Drive-In was more than a restaurant. It was a local institution that captured the essence of the classic American diner experience. Founded in the 1950s, Dee's quickly became a go-to spot for families, teens, and car enthusiasts alike. Known for its retro charm and iconic drive-in service, Dee's specializes in delicious burgers, crispy fries, and creamy milkshakes, all served right to your car. It was the kind of place where you'd pull up, roll down your window, and have your meal delivered by a friendly car hop on skates, an experience that added a personal touch to every visit. The menu was simple yet unforgettable. You could indulge in a juicy burger stacked with all your favorite toppings, savor a hot dog piled high with chili, or cool off with a classic root beer float. Dee's also had a signature feature, its famous Dee's Special Burger, a local favorite that had people coming back for more, but it wasn't just the food that made Dee's stand out, it was the atmosphere. With its neon signs, upbeat tunes, and community feel, the restaurant offered more than just a meal. It was a place to gather, relax, and make memories. In today's world, where dining is increasingly impersonal and rushed, a comeback for Dee's Drive-In could be just the nostalgic escape we all need. Imagine pulling into a retro-style drive-in, enjoying a delicious made-to-order meal, and feeling like you've stepped back into a simpler, more joyful time. With the rise of retro trends, Dee's would be a perfect fit for today's fast food landscape, combining classic comfort with modern nostalgia, steak and ale. Any American oldie will surely remember steak and ale. It was an experience. Founded in 1966, this iconic chain brought together a unique blend of casual dining and fine dining, creating the perfect spot for family dinners, dates, and everything in between. Known for its hearty steaks, comforting salads, and unbeatable ambiance, Steak and Ale carved out a special place in the hearts of many. Its rustic yet sophisticated vibe, complete with wooden beams and dim lighting, made it feel like a cozy escape from the hustle and bustle of everyday life. The menu was a meat lover's dream, with signature dishes like the famous prime rib, tender steaks, and their mouth-watering chicken fried steak. But it wasn't just about the food. Steak and Ale was also famous for its warm, inviting service and cozy bar area, where you could sip on cocktails or enjoy a cold beer with friends. The restaurant also offered an extensive salad bar, perfect for those who wanted to customize their meal with fresh veggies, toppings, and dressings. So why would a comeback be so great? In today's fast-paced, grab-and-go dining world, the nostalgia of Steak and Ale's laid-back atmosphere and focus on quality, delicious food is exactly what we need. Imagine unwinding with a perfectly cooked steak paired with a refreshing salad bar in a relaxed, inviting space that feels like a home away from home. It would be a much-needed break from the fast food frenzy, giving people a chance to reconnect over a great meal in a timeless setting. Steak and Ale's return could offer a delightful blend of old-school charm and today's desire for comfort and quality. Child's Restaurant. Child's Restaurant, once a staple of American dining, was more than just a place to grab a meal. It was an experience that combined convenience, comfort, and quality. Founded in 1889, Child's revolutionized the idea of casual dining by offering a full-service restaurant with an emphasis on affordable, hearty meals. At its peak, Child's had dozens of locations across major cities, with New York City being its heart. The restaurant's distinctive charm lay in its mix of counter service and sit-down dining, giving customers the flexibility to enjoy a meal quickly or linger and savor it. Known for its delicious seafood, classic American dishes, and decadent desserts, Child served everything from clam chowder to roast beef sandwiches. The appeal wasn't just the food, it was the experience of eating in a welcoming, bustling space where families, workers, and tourists could come together. Whether it was enjoying a quick lunch or sharing a celebratory dinner, Child's made every meal feel special. So why would Child's be the perfect comeback story for today's fast food landscape? In an era where diners crave comfort, nostalgia, and quality, the timeless appeal of a family-friendly restaurant that served up delicious meals in a relaxed atmosphere is exactly what's missing. Imagine modernizing its iconic menu with a fresh contemporary twist while still keeping those classic favorites that everyone adored. With today's emphasis on quick, satisfying meals and unique dining experiences, Child's could easily reclaim its spot in the hearts and stomachs of a new generation of customers. bringing back Childs could just be the nostalgia-filled dining experience we never knew we needed. Kenny Rogers Roasters top of form. What happens when country music and finger-licking good meals collide? Well, Kenny Rogers Roasters was more than just a fast food joint. It was a cozy retreat for anyone craving a wholesome rotisserie-style meal with a twist. Founded in 1991 by country music legend Kenny Rogers, this restaurant quickly became known for its mouth-watering rotisserie chicken, which is tender and flavorful with a secret marinade that made it stand out from the crowd. But it wasn't just about the chicken. Kenny Rogers Roasters served up a variety of sides like mashed potatoes, corn on the cob, and fresh-baked biscuits, creating a comforting, home-cooked feel in a fast food setting. The ambiance was also unique, bright and inviting, with an almost nostalgic charm. It wasn't just about feeding people. It was about providing a dining experience that felt like a warm hug after a long day. For a time, Kenny Rogers Roasters had a loyal following, but as the fast food landscape evolved, the chain started to lose ground. Despite attempts to revamp, it eventually faded from the US market, though it still has a presence in international locations. Why bring it back? Today, people are increasingly seeking healthier, flavorful alternatives to the typical fast food offerings. Kenny Rogers Roasters, with its emphasis on rotisserie cooking and fresh quality ingredients, fits perfectly into the growing demand for healthier yet satisfying meals. Imagine walking into a familiar, welcoming spot and savoring a juicy piece of rotisserie chicken with a side of classic mashed potatoes, all at a fast food pace. It would be a hit with a whole new generation of foodies who crave something different but just as delicious. So, did you ever dine in any of these forgotten restaurants? If so, which one? Let us know in the comment section below.